Power creep is a prevalent thing in Zenless Zone Zero, and it's happening at a faster rate than we've seen in Honkai Star Rail, than we've seen in Genshin Impact. It's probably the fastest growing power creep that I have ever seen in a Hoyoverse-esque gacha game, and I think it could ruin the game. But I don't only think there's one way they're ruining with power creep, I think there's two ways they're ruining with power creep. Number one, I think they're ruining it from the character perspective themselves, right? Like, I think with the release of Miyabi release, so that we'll talk more about that in a second here. But that is not the only power creep in the game, or not the only predatory practice that they're implementing in the game. That really is kind of worrying to me, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video, guys. Starting off, number one, guys, with just the generic power creep problem we currently have in the game, and that is to be stated, right? Miyabi got released, right? Miyabi was is hands down the best DPS we have ever gotten in this game. Why? She does so much bullshit and she does so much fucking damage, it is unreal. Now, sure, maybe you can release an absolutely broken character. We have to keep in mind, guys, this is Hoyoverse, meaning they have multiple titles. They've shown their colors before. They've released characters before. They know how to release characters, and they know how characters can be. Unfortunately, you can't nerf characters, though I don't think you would want your characters nerfed anyways, but my big problem with this is, guys, is that we just got the release of Silver Soldier Ambi, and I'm going to be truthful and honest with you guys. I genuinely think, guys, that Silver... Oh, don't worry about that. And how I want to talk about this, guys, is actually by going back to previous banners. So our 1.0 banners was Ellen Zhou and Zhuyan, right? Let's take a look at where they're currently at, technically, on the tier list, right? Ellen Zhou's already at a 1.5. 1 point... Keep this in mind. This bitch was a meta tier unit, a tier 0 Apex character, literally less than a year ago. The game has not even been out for a year yet. She's already ranked in Pride Wins terms at tier 1.5. Zhuyan's ranked at tier 1. So we've already seen the drop of two absolutely meta-shattering units, or at the time, meta-shattering units, all the way down to this tier right here. So what does that mean? Barring Piper out of the equation, because I think Piper's been getting really good, right? What does that mean for every other free-to-play DPS in the game? As you can see from just the tier list here, right? We have Soldier 11 in here in tier 2. We have Billy, we have Anton, we have Corin, we have Grace, we have Nekomata. A lot of these characters generally are not really even like that usable anymore, right? And that is in less than a year. They have not kept up with the production of A ranks. We got Seth and we got Pulchra, right? Seth is getting absolutely shafted right here too, down to tier 2. But why is Seth down in tier 2, right? Because they have really removed the prevalence of like anomaly proficiency by adding these characters that it's just easy to get the anomaly proficiency on them, right? Power creep is killing these characters. Power creep is killing these older characters, which then in turn kills these older supports and stuff, right? Now, why isn't power creep affecting someone like Lucy, Nicole, or Shokaku, right? Well, Nicole's pretty self-explanatory. She gives defense buff. Lucy's pretty self-explanatory. She gives attack buff. She has off-field attacks. She's overall, she gets on and off the field really quickly, right? Someone like Seth is not really like that, per se, because he gives a shield to one person. He's very cuckolded in his own way. But let's get back to the DPS problem at hand here. Who else did we have on the tier list? Now we had Qingyi and Jane Doe. Now, they're already talking about moving Qingyi down. I don't think that's the play. I think Qingyi, in terms of a stun character, is still the best stunner in the game. I think she does her job the best. Let's move on with this now, guys, right? Okay, we have Jane Doe as well. Jane Doe got moved down. Who else do we have here? I think it was Seizure King, Bernice. Okay, well, you know, Seizure King's at the top, and then Bernice at the top here as well. That's when the anomaly meta started coming in, but the point I want to make here with this, or the biggest point I want to make here with this, guys, is even though we saw these characters get moved down, right, we've seen the absolute evisceration. Now, Harumasa here, on the other hand, I just want to bring this up really briefly. I don't think Harumasa is this bad. Genuinely, don't really think it's that bad. But overall, you can see the power creep of the characters we've had. This is 1.0 to like 1.1, and then you have 1.2, and then you have like 1.4, right? And with this being said, guys, I think that they're being I think they're not glazing Ambi enough. I do think that while Miyabi is still the top bitch of the game, and I'll be talking more about this on my tier list video if you want to watch that, but genuinely on this, guys, I think that probably from what I've experienced, I think that Silver Soldier Ambi, Soldier Zero Ambi, is better than all of those characters. She is, first of all, to me, easier to play. Secondly, she just does so much fucking damage, it's unreal. And that's even using a semi-free-to-play team. I'm not even using Trigger on the team, which would technically be like her best in slot supporter there. This is me using a team with Sanbi, Nicole, and also Astrial. And we're 3-starring the what, Deadly Assault game mode with that? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, and my builds aren't even the best on these characters either. They're not even maxed out. Sambi is level 8 skills right now. Like, it's not the best thing in the world to even be approaching this shit with, and she feels better than all of these characters. She just does, I feel like she does so much more damage than these characters right here. I feel like the only character that has really stood the test of time in terms of DPS has been Bernice. Truthfully and honestly, I feel like all these characters are starting to drop off more like faster and faster with every single patch here, and the power creep rate in this game is absolutely fast. This is the main point I want to bring here, right, guys? This is 1.0 to 1.6 right here, and you can see the power creep, and with the amount of tiers these characters have dropped. These characters have dropped so much that probably one's had to add a new fucking tier into the game. Okay, that's all I'm going to say with that. But, like I said, while I do think this is a problem, mainly for the DPS aspect of the game, maybe even for this category as well, support. But the second thing I want to talk about is actually W-Engines. I think W-Engines are the scammiest thing in the world. And why do I think they're the scammiest thing in the world? Let's go ahead and take a look at our current W-Engine in the game right now, right? For example, number one, biggest point I want to bring up here. What is Miyabi's W-Engine, guys? It gives you a crit damage increase of 50% fucking percent. Not only that, guys, you want an 80% crit rate with Miyabi as well. It gives you 24% crit rate, right? So this is why this is super scummy and why this is a really, really big issue. What other W-Engine here is giving you either crit rate or crit damage to assist with your Miyabi's damage? No other W-Engine under the anomaly class is giving you that. So that means if you really need the crit rate on her, which that means if you're not grinding for the build to get like insane crit rate sub rolls, what you're having to do is forego every single one of these W-Engines here. Go to an attack W-Engine just for the crit rate. Me, I use Marcato Desire on my Miyabi, guys. 20% crit rate there. I have to forego any passive ability there, which is absolutely, it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. Hoyoverse, Zenless Zone Zero team, the development team for this, they should not be building these characters out that play off of a completely different niche or a completely different damage type than their class permits. Miyabi should not be an anomaly type character. I get she plays off of disorders. Still, she should not be. You could make her have an attack type character and play off of disorders. That doesn't matter. The problem is you're not getting the passive bonus now for any other W-Engine here because you're giving up on so much fucking crit rate. If you're a casual player, you know the fucking pain. This is not where the buck ends though, guys. These W-Engines are getting worse and worse and worse. We're gonna go into a little bit of leak territory now, but I want to show you what Trigger's W-Engine looks like, guys, because this one's absolutely crazy too. We're taking a look at Spectral Glaze here, and this gives you crit rate. It is a stun type W-Engine. What other W-Engine in the stun class gives you crit rate? She wants you to hit a 90% crit rate. That's higher than Miyabi's, and think of how hard it is to hit Miyabi's crit rate requirement. This is fucking unreal. Literally, the game is like forcing you into getting these fucking W-Engines almost. Like, I get, like, people say, yeah, the light goes the most high, bro. Like, and this is not even the case, unless you're talking about Aglia and Honkai Star Rail, then maybe E1's the case, but this is not even the case in Honkai Star Rail. This is so predatory. It is unfucking real. This is the most dog shit thing I have seen in my life. Why are you making a stun character scale off of crit rate? Why not scale the character off of days or impact and give them crit rate instead? Why do you have to scale them off of crit rate to give them days? It makes no fucking sense to me, genuinely. It is the stupidest shit ever. But truthfully and honestly, guys, this is the bigger problem that I see here. Who's to say that they're not going to make Mindscape 1s basically mandatory to make characters function? This is such a bad approach to the game, whereas they could have been scaling these characters off a different stat, a stat that more so aligned with the type that these characters are. Like Miyabi, for example, why couldn't she have been scaled off of something like Anomaly Proficiency or Anomaly Mastery to give herself crit rate? You could have swapped those things out, right? Why can't we have, like, Trigger, for example, right? Why does it have to scale off of crit rate to go to days? Why can't it go from either days, give days on the W-Engine maybe? Because, I mean, you can get days inside the passive for other things, right? So then that could have given you crit rate, but no, they don't want to do that. They want to force you into pulling for these W-Engines, making the stat requirements to activate their pull passive so fucking high that it is almost impossible for a casual player, unless you get really lucky, to build these characters to their maximum potential without pulling for these W-Engines. It is hella incentivizing you to pull for these W-Engines because it's like, well, if you pull for the W-Engine, you'll have one of its own, one of a kind, right? And it'll work for this character. And the scummiest part about this is, doing this literally locks you out, or literally locks that W-Engine out for no one else. Because if they continue down the trend of, you know, releasing like normal fucking characters that work the way they should in their own perspective niche, right? Why the fuck do they need crit rate or crit damage? They usually want anomaly proficiency, anomaly mastery if you're anomaly, right? Why does a fucking stun character need to scale off a crit rate when everyone else scales off of impact percentage? Right? Like, just impact percentage or even days. Give her, fucking put a goddamn days thing on it. At least to make it usable for the other characters there. And you might say, well, I'll just use the crit rate on another character. No, you're not going to use this on any other character. Why? Because the core passive doesn't work on these other characters. Why? Because when the equipper hits an enemy with an aftershock attack causing electric damage, so it's making you play into two niches now. So not only does it have to be electric damage, it has to be aftershock electric damage. So that means if you get any other character added into the game that is a stunner character that would maybe play like a sub DPS like she is, if it's not electric, you cannot use this W-Engine on them. This W-Engine only works for trigger. That's it. And if that is not the scummiest shit I've ever seen, I don't know what is. This shit needs to stop. This is going to ruin Zenless Zone Zero. You need to, first of all, make more free-to-play W-Engine options for these fucking characters that have these niched out fucking stats. Secondly, you need to at least make these W-Engines viable on other characters outside of the prospective character you're summoning for, or summoning for the W-Engine for that character, right? And guys, truthfully and honestly, I don't mind giving the W-Engine more nicheified things within it to help the said character out more than other characters. But don't lock the whole thing behind. You have to do this type of damage with this damage type to activate the ability. That makes no fucking sense. It is fucking stupid. This will ruin the game. Genuinely. It'll fucking ruin the game faster than fucking Honkai Star Rail is ruining itself. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for my little rant video today. That's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for me. Hopefully you enjoyed. Yeah, I'll see you next one, guys. Later, bye-bye. I'll probably be in Japan when I'm recording this, so... yeah, I don't know how, I'll probably won't back the comments. I don't know. We'll see. I'll read them, maybe. We'll see.